Always great catching up with my next guest, especially when he's coming off a win. It is Joe Solecki, who's coming off that majority decision win over Alex da Silva, UFC Fight Night on June 4th. Joe, how's it going, man?
It's going great, man. Just hanging out, catching up on actually I was doing quarterly tax stuff, so not fun. Much more fun.
It happens.
Talking
No, hey,
yeah.
you got to take care of it, right? It's important stuff. So
independent contractor, not fun. I'd rather just take out my check. So math, no bueno, but talking to you and coming off a win, good. So
yeah, exactly. No, I hear you too. Let's start first with just your overall performance. Like, how did you feel in there? Because we haven't seen you since October. I know you really wanted to come back and get in the win column. You did that. Just looking back, how you felt in the cage. How did you feel?
I felt great. I felt the most composed I've ever felt. I mean, I've always been a good competitor, but I do think in the past I've done a good job of like hiding certain things. Like I have a good poker face where maybe I wasn't feeling so hot or so composed, and it just didn't seem obvious. Not the case this time. Like start to finish, entire time, like felt super composed, even coming off of getting dropped in the first 15 seconds. So while it was I don't know that it was an ugly performance, but it was not without adversity or controversy. I'm very proud of that performance. I'm very proud that I faced adversity in fights, sure, but I was saying it earlier to someone today, is like a lot of times it's when I'm already winning or, in the Miller fight, maybe I lost the first round, but we knew he was going to fade really bad. Like I hit adversity as early as you could possibly hit adversity, and he was on point the entire fight. So it was a fun time in there. It was a great test, and I'm just really happy to be on the other side of it with a win.
What was the game plan going in?
We really didn't focus on I have to do this or I have to do that. It was going to be, we knew he wings punches, and he did. He ended up catching me with one, but I don't think it was from his good placement as much as it was him just winging punches, and I kind of stood up a little bit. So concept being punch when he punches, let's beat him to it. We see those shoulders open, let's shoot straight. Obviously, for me, if I can put somebody on their back, we want to do that pretty much any fight. But we knew he had great hips, so that's why. I guess we didn't really get the fight going too much in the first round because I was on my butt already. But I don't know that I would have looked to shoot a ton early on unless he really overcommitted to something. But we saw in the second, if he kicks or something like that, I've either got to make him pay with, stepping in with a good right hand or a hook, or catching it and putting him on his butt, which we did in the second. So it was really just being aware of where he was good, which is everywhere, but the certain tendencies he had. So it was kind of nice. I got to go out there and just fight. Didn't start out so hot, but it was nice is that there was never a point in the fight where it's like, you've got to get back to here or you're going to lose. It was one of those like compete everywhere. And I'm a competitor, so it's fun when you go, I got to go kickbox with a guy that's a good kickboxer. That is a fun challenge, or whatever it might be. But in this case, it was a lot of kickboxing.
You can prepare as much as you want, but when you're actually in there, sometimes there's things that happen that you don't expect. Was there anything about him that surprised you in the fight?
I think maybe, one thing I would say is in that, the first fight of his that I watched with the guy, who's a good fighter, but I cannot pronounce his name, but, the European fighter he fought, he kind of faded a little bit. It looked like he almost broke a little bit. Whereas he didn't in this fight, now did he, commit some fouls to not break and tap? Yes, but that still shows that he was like fighting tooth and nail to stay in that cage and not, so, I think he was probably a lot mentally tougher than maybe I prepared for him to be mentally tough, but I guess maybe than I would have even thought. So that was impressive. But other than that, no, I think he was the exact kind of dude. That guy's a specimen. Like he has every gift you could have fighting. So I kind of gave him the respect that he deserved, and we knew that. And I even said the first night I got the fight and watched him like a crash course before training that night, because it was right before practice. I came in and said to whoever it was, I was like, "There's a good chance." Just if I do something wrong or he does something right, it could be like DC and Rumble 1, where in the first 5 seconds I face plant. And I said it a couple more times throughout camp. And I hate that I was right, but at least I was expecting it. So, yeah, other than that, nothing really surprised me.
It goes to the scorecards. How confident were you? Because, again, you never know with the judging. And I know even on the card as well, there was maybe some questionable decisions there. How are you feeling going to the judges' scorecards?
Yeah, in the third, I was thinking about it when I was on my back and my corner was screaming to get up. I was almost a little hesitant to like fight real hard to get up, because I was like, oh, I mean, I'm certain that second was a 10-8. And if he lost the point, how good I can do math on the fly. I can barely do math that good when it's not on the fly. But I was like, I think I would win. But then I fought to get up and push the pace in the third. I know it was a close round, but I think maybe it was kind of like what I had happen to me in the Gordon fight, where he landed 2 or 3 good shots with good pop on him. But I landed just as many hard shots and was putting numbers up, whether they were landing or not. So I think, and then with the takedown, there was none. I kind of took bad shots and pulled guard. So if they're looking at it going, he put me on my back, they could give it to him. If they're looking at it saying, I just ended up pulling a guard and getting back up and he never used it anyway, then I can go to me. So in the heat of the moment, getting done the fight, I felt good. When you're waiting for the hands to get raised, you have no idea, So he was dancing and celebrating and all that. I couldn't. My one buddy Zach, who was in the corner, was like, "Put your hands up, let him know you won." But I hurt my rib or my side or whatever it was, so I really couldn't do much of anything. So I was like, I'm just gonna sit here and let my performance speak for itself. Hopefully, they're already scoring it anyway, and they're not looking for who can celebrate harder. So, but yeah, when they said, when they're reading them off, of course you're nervous because at that point you're looking at like financial and career implications more so than I was proud of the performance regardless. Cause I felt like I really did fight well, but that was the only part. I wasn't sure.
So you get the win. How did you celebrate after the fight? I know you're not going to the club and popping bottles. You're a family man like me. You're probably hanging out with your wife and daughter. What did you get up to?
Yeah, well, they weren't able to be at the fight because I don't think they could get tickets. So I had to FaceTime. My wife was freaking out, and I was like, "Oh, sorry for giving you a heart attack in the first minute." But when we were walking around Vegas earlier in the week, just stretching our legs, and we did like some Top Golf and stuff, we came across Giordano's Pizza, which I had that at a tournament in Chicago like almost 10 years ago, and I was like, "Oh man, like." That looks amazing. And John Salter was like, not that I want to put thoughts in your head for after the fight, but if you're healthy, we should get there. And I was like, okay. So we made a reservation and we go on deep dish pizza. And that was pretty much it. Watched some TV in the room. And then it was really tough because, our coach, Jeff, he goes back to his room. He's got Barbarena in a couple weeks. So he's like neurotically preparing for that fight because all he does is watch fights and study. But then John and Zach, they're my coaches and sparring partner, but they're two of my best friends and they're very funny people. And I have a sore rib. So hanging out with them for the rest of the day, our flight
probably not good. Yeah. With that rib.
It's killing me. And they're walking around and laughing and we're recapping the fight and all the funny scenarios and just guys, I am going to spit my rib out if you keep making me laugh like this. So it was a good time, just good time with my friends, and then got home too late to see anybody. So the next morning I get to go in and wake my daughter up when she's expecting my wife. And
that's awesome.
And I had her little stuffed elephants as Las Vegas and it was awesome. So it was great.
That's excellent. And, obviously I mentioned that the fight was, went to the scorecards. It was close. I know you're not like a big social media guy, but did you get have you been getting any sort of, feedback from the fight, positive and negative? Because I know some people there's a lot of bettors out there, right? So I'm sure there's some people who probably had Da Silva and they're like, can't believe you lost. Have you had to deal with any of that or no? You just ignore it?
I kind of stayed away from a lot of it and just read, the ones that people I recognize. But all the messages I saw were really, really nice, honestly.
Oh, good. Okay.
Except for one. There was a guy with no face, no name, or just a screen name.
Well, right there, you can just disqualify him whatsoever. Yep. If they're not willing to show their face, they're probably not a good person, right? So
I was like, okay, this is going to be, but it was a voice memo. I'm like, this is going to be too good to pass up. I have to listen to this.
Right.
And it did not disappoint. It was like a profanity-ridden rant that was like, I'll kill you and blah, blah, blah. And we were dying laughing at that. But other than that, I think I was a slight favorite. And it was such even money, but I was just a slight favorite. I think really me winning probably did people's gambling better than it did harm, So other than a few passionate Brazilian fans commenting saying he didn't win, but even then, worst case scenario, forget the foul, but he grabbed my glove 10 times. I wasn't even worried about him with his toes. I don't think that really changes anything. That could be an accident even. The glove was what I think he lost the point for, but if he didn't, it should have been for. Because I never say that about I would have done this or that, but I'm very confident I'd have finished him. But even without that, you got 4.5 minutes of back control and 3 close submission attempts. It's a 10-8, and at worst case, it's a draw. So saying I lost doesn't really make any sense. And I think a lot of people's opinion, I won the 3rd round. So I wasn't too worried about it. But I think that's also a testament to the work that I've been doing on not playing into too much what people think of me. That comes from my faith and the good mentors I have in that department. So, yeah, just kind of and even on the positive message side, and I will say this just for anybody that deals with that line of getting self-absorbed, even is I do know it's hard not to bask in your own work and glory on fight night. And I know that this time I was looking at the messages with an appreciation, and it was a lot of the people, mostly people that I know, who were tagging me viewing parties and stuff. And instead of looking on the internet to see what people thought about me and my performance and how good I.
Yeah, you can't do that. That you're just
No.
you're gonna find something you don't like no matter what. I mean that's inevitable.
No, I wasn't basking in like, oh, this person thinks I'm great or this person thinks I'm going to be top 15. It was only just viewing it with an appreciation for like, man, there's 100 people from my hometown who are in this gym watching my fight right now. How cool is that? And appreciating them. It was more just getting back to people that, I actually know and like and wanted to say thank you to. So it was just a big different filter going into this fight and coming out of it as well.
Did you have anyone that won any money on your fight? You mentioned the odds were close. I imagine, say you by decision or maybe just you in general could have been a good payday for anyone. Any crazy stories like that? Sometimes I hear guys, their friends bet like a ton of money on them.
Yeah, I saw like one or two messages like that, but one guy from the gym who trains with us managed to tell me before like my last sparring session, I think it was.
Oh, geez.
Funny on it. I was like, I'm going to use you when I teach the class of like how not to talk to fighters the week before the fight because guarantees. But about that now, he probably made a little bit of money. So I'm going to come collecting for a percentage, I guess, when I see him in class.
Well, no, steak dinner, Joe. That's the rule. I think it's a steak dinner and not like, like an Applebee's. It's got to be like a really good, like, quality steak place, somewhere where you have to dress up a bit. I think that's the rule. If you did your part, right?
Gold standard. I like that. I'm going to start sticking to that.
There you go. You got to put that in your contract or something. I know we're fresh off this win here, but have you thought about when you want to get that next fight, when you want to get back in the cage?
I mean, I was back in the gym teaching last night. It's probably going to be a week before I can be like going live, just because the side's kind of messed up. But other than that, yeah, I'd like to be back definitely before the end of the year. I would think in fall would be perfect, maybe early fall. That if I could be maybe signing a bout agreement in August and fighting like end of September, October. That just gives time to keep implementing these changes. I think I'm showing those positive changes every time I get in there, but I don't want these 8-month layoffs. It's not good for your career momentum. It's also not good financially. We want to be able to, my time in the sport isn't going to be forever. I don't think it's, God willing, I don't think it's anywhere near the end right now. I'm young. I'm not even in my prime yet. But if I fight 1.5 times a year, that's going to be a wasted career in a sense, So I'd like another one before the end of the year for sure. If I could even be like one in early fall and then coming into one after the turn of the year. That would be awesome too, but I can't control all that, but I'm definitely ready to go. And if anybody's seeing this that has other stuff going on, like grappling matches and stuff, I'm just going to stay competing like I did before. If I can hop on, I'm talking to my manager about maybe getting on the Fight Pass Invitational in like 4 weeks on International Fight Week or Fury Grappling or any of that stuff. The only contact I don't have is that Flow Grappling and who's number one. I'd love to do one of those. So I'm just going to stay in shape, competing, and just if it's 6 weeks for a fight, 5 weeks, like I'm going to stay ready, so I'm good to go. But, hopefully before the end of the year.
Well, that Fight Pass one, your buddy, you just mentioned it there. Brian Barberena is going to be fighting Robbie Lawler. So you could put 2 and 1. You could do, you could go take a grappling match and watch your buddy fight a legend and Robbie Lawler, right? So
that's exactly what I said. So we were talking about it, walking around after lunch. And I was like, I'd love to get on that Fight Pass Invitational because we had dinner with my manager the night before the fight. And then he must have ESP, and he called me like literally 10 minutes later. I was like, hey, I'm with, the guy setting it up. Like, would you any interest in that? I'm like, yeah. And how can I request tickets for the night before at T-Mobile Arena? Because that's going to be a sold out card. So, yeah, that would be awesome to be able to watch him and then compete the next day.
Any opponents in mind? I know you said, sort of a fall return. Is there any, are you looking at, that maybe the rankings at all, or, even outside the rankings, just saying, hey, that would be a fun fight, anything like that? Like, you're not a guy to call people out, but I'm sure you keep an eye on the division.
Yeah, I don't call anybody out. The one that I think could be fun, just because I do think I'm prepared maturity-wise for it, and just the way we match up, we're such conflicting personalities, would be if Paddy gets past George Levitt.
Okay.
Because, and not even from trying to steal his shine or anything. I really don't want all that attention, but I think it would be fun in a couple ways for me. Is one, he's a good grappler, and I think I'm a good grappler, so I'd like to test my grappling because there's a part of me that's watching, flying triangle and cage work, going, I'm not getting flying triangle, like that, competitor in me. And the other thing is like, he's 1 or 2 fights in now, so it's like I'm a little more the veteran now. I've got 5 fights in the UFC. I've proven that I can stay here. I'm a grinder, and I relish that like underdog role where like I do know everyone would be. Not everyone, but a large amount of people would be rooting for him because he's so well known. And that's kind of like what I grew up wanting to be like. Like, I love Rocky. I love that, like, small town, small guy, come out here and do it for the right reasons, and come out here and try to upset the favorite. So that would be like a dream scenario, I think, just because it would be big for my career. But I don't want to be the call out, and I'm not going to say I don't have anything negative to say about him. He's a good fighter, because I know when guys have called him out, like they're trying to steal my shine. I'm not, but I think
you're just looking at it from a style perspective and just to be clear,
I think if he could get past Levitt or Leave It, I do think I'm a couple steps up from that in a test. Before they throw him to the top 15, I'm on my way up as well. So I think I'm a pretty stiff test because also he gets hit on the feet, and I think I've proven I'm a pretty accurate striker and I hit pretty hard. So I think it'd be a fun fight, So, but I'm not like driven set on that. But I think he fights July, so that kind of is the timeline I'd like. But in the fall. But we'll see. I got nothing set in stone. I don't really care. I just want to keep climbing and keep doing what I'm doing.
I'll let you get back to all that important paperwork, Joe. Really appreciate the time, man. If there's anyone you'd like to thank, sponsors, social media, you name it, I'll give you the last word here.
Yeah, just everybody that supported me this entire time. Of course, my wife and my daughter first and foremost. It's really I don't know that I'd be doing this if I never met my wife. And I don't know that this would be even anywhere near as enjoyable if I didn't get to get home to my wife and my daughter after this. It'd be definitely an empty life for me. Just it'd be real busy, and then you get home and be like, oh, I don't have anything that really matters. So definitely want to thank them, all my coaches, John Salter, Jeff Jimmo, Alan Branch, Chris Gowd. I've talked about them a lot in the post-fight interviews and stuff, so I won't take up a lot of time talking about that. But they certainly had me prepared in every single department. I was just texting with Alan last night about, did you see this, that, and this worked and that didn't? And we're already back to talking about it. And my boxing coach, Chris Gowd, I didn't bring him this time in the corner just because Zach DeLeon, who is my main sparring partner, is very similar to Da Silva. And I was like, I'd like to spar those first couple rounds out in the back instead of, focusing more on other things. So like I hit a little bit of pads with Jeff Jimmo, and then mostly we just did like a drill spar where it was like a very high pace blowing my lungs out. And I think that had me ready coming out of there to start fast, but I had to call him after the fight and be like, Chris, I'm sorry for the heart attack in the first 15 seconds. But just want to thank those guys, everyone at Talk Dog Jiu-Jitsu and Port City MMA, everybody at Jimmo, especially the guys that helped me spar for this up there. The 55ers were Billy Jack Cup and Nick Rodriguez, and I had an 85 prospect, Paul Carson, who's going to be an absolute monster. He'll be in the UFC or Bellator, no doubt, and probably pretty soon because he's got 2 fights and he's already, all of us use him for our rounds. He's a stud D1 wrestler and picking up stand-up really good and good jiu-jitsu. I want to thank all those guys, Cody Jones out of Fitness Edge MMA, and everybody at Fitness Edge for all the sparring work, though. He did a great job. He was my number one, my first round every week on Mondays, and his only job was to come out of the gate super hot. And he came out and was just keeping a ferocious pace every time we did it. And I texted him after the fight. I was like, well, I did get dropped. That was still not as bad as the pace that you were coming out with. So thank you for that. And just everybody who supports me. It's been awesome. I really can't thank everybody enough for, it really does take a village to get to the fight because, there's a lot of things that people don't even understand. Because I think we're a lot more normal than other athletes, so just things behind the scenes, like, people watching your kid in the evening so you can go train or whatever it might be. It's really important stuff. Or like, John's my real estate agent. We're trying to buy our first house, and like fight week stuff's happening. And you're like, I'm laughing going, man, like these people are like wanting to rip you apart, but you don't deserve to win. You're like, I'm just trying to buy the water filter for the house.
Yeah, exactly.
This lawnmower, so I don't have to push mow, this giant backyard or whatever. So it's just everybody that's just like chipping in back home on the home front and stuff when we're gone too, because a week is a long time to be gone. So I just appreciate all the support we get from friends and family, and that's pretty much it.